Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Unfiltered News from the reality zone where political correctness is not spoken here. Compiled by G.Edward Griffin with the editor Cassandra Anderson. Photo and humor by John Glover and proofreader Tom Parker. This is for the week of we're doing some weird stuff. April 12th through the 18th. Headlines you may have missed. These are your symbols to pay attention to. And let us go to the comic strip for this week. This is the ranch of the Bundys, and they're bringing in the Obama tanks. Don't you know? Oh, what a horrible ideal that was for a government to get into. Alright, first article of the week. Edward Snowden has risked his life again to expose surveillance of citizens by their government, but this time it is in Russia. In a TV broadcast, he asked Vladimir Putin if the Russian government intercepted, analyzed, or stored millions of citizens' communications. It seems like a softball question that allowed Putin to give a propaganda answer that particularly was, no, Russia would never do such a thing. But now Snowden reveals that his question was a lure to get Putin to record telling a big lie, similar to the lie told by the NSA director James Clapper about the surveillance in the U.S. Snowden believes that whistleblowers and journalists around the world, including in Russia, now will expose Putin's lies, which will broaden the debate to include not just the surveillance policy of the U.S., but all major powers. Putin is not known for taking kindly to criticism or being outsmarted by opponents. Since Snowden still is in Russia, he has risked his life once again to defend the rights to privacy. Tech Dirt, April 18th. Don't you know? Don't you know? This man is a hero. He's pointing out all the corruption worldwide of fascism, and that some countries that claim they're not, maybe not have fascism or corporations running the government through payoffs to the congressmen and the senators. But, Putin is his own man. Anyways, White House, Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor Lisa Monaco says that parents and teachers should monitor children's behavior, looking for sudden changes in personality as an indication that they may become domestic terrorists. They just might do that. What? Believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and mom and pie and baseball and stuff? Oh my God. This is not the country that I remember several years ago. It is important to turn this information over to the government, she says, so authorities can intervene before an incident occurs. Really? They can predict the future? Wow. Must be nice. How they do that? They should come forward. CBS DC 2014, April 18th. Video. Anti-Jewish leaflets were dispersed in eastern Ukraine and blamed on pro-Russian factions. A well-known rabbi in eastern Ukraine says he believes the leaflets are fake, created to provoke hate between Jews and ethnic Russians. If true, the false flag propaganda would have a benefit in current Western-backed Ukrainian regime, which may explain why John Kerry, the State Department, and Western media have made a big show criticizing the document. CNN, April 18th. Okay, video. Pro-Russian protesters see 6 Ukrainian tanks sent to its eastern border to take back the building recently occupied by pro-Russian protesters. Press TV, April 17th. Right? It's back and forth, back and forth. Video. Masked men tried to take over an eastern Ukrainian National Guard base. This resulted in 3 people killed and others injured. 64 people were arrested. Reuters, April 17. Interesting. Star, something to keep. Leslie Woodcock, professor emeritus of chemical thermodynamics at the University of Manchester, says that the global warming, government's behind it, saying there is, global warming and climate change are theories without scientific evidence. Of course. He says an industry has been created on these theories that collect vast sums of wealth based entirely on politics. There is no scientific evidence that CO2 has increased over the past 100 years. Furthermore, if it had increased, it would be beneficial to mankind. Of course. WorldNet Daily, April 17th. Because the more carbon dioxide in the air means greener plants producing more oxygen. Imagine that. Okay. In Vermont, if the state legislature and the House approves the Senate changes to its GMO labeling bill, Vermont will become the first state to require GMO foods to be labeled as such. Connecticut and Maine have similar legislation, but require 4 northeastern states to join before implementation. There are 29 other states that are considering GMO labeling laws, while Congress considers a bill to prevent states from doing so. Reuters, April 16th. Of course, you do not want... there's a senator out there who was going to make universal labeling across all 50 states. He was going to make it so, I can't think of his name offhand right in the moment. It'll probably come up in this. That you have to label everything, the ingredients and everything. But guess what? It disallows GMO labeling on anything. Now, if GMO is such a great advancement in science and everything, they'd be out there going, go and buy GMO. Look, it's in this can. Look at the labeling. It's great for you. No, they don't, because they're secretly putting it in all your foods, and you just don't understand that what they're doing is not right. If they're secretly trying to hide that they're putting this poison in your food. And it is a poison. It's a slow poison. A mutagen. It's just horrible. Video. Judicial Watch obtained emails that show the IRS official Louis Leonard was communicating with the Department of Justice to discuss a strategy to prosecute conservative groups seeking tax-exempt status. That means the DOJ is implicated in a scandal it is investigating. Yes, let's do what Monsanto does. Let Monsanto and the FDA do the same thing. We will do the testing and give it to you, FDA, and you will sign it off with a pencil whip. Yeah, really. This is the same type of crap that's going on. Okay. Video. Nevada. The BLM shot 2 prize bulls at the Bundy Ranch and destroyed water tanks, pipes, and corrals, even though the court ordered that authorized and federal seizures of cattle only allowed the BLM to impound the cattle. The BLM hired a waggler from Utah, but Utah's Governor Gary Herbert announced that he did not want the cattle moved to his state. Fox, April 16th. No, they basically killed off, they did this other stuff. You know, the tortoises that they were claiming that the BLM was protecting under the Environmental Protection Agency type thing in Greenland and all this stuff. They were running them over. They hit a den of them and crushed them, driving their SUVs over their land and stuff. And really? Is that where it was about? No, it's Agenda 21. Don't you know? Okay. Oh, yeah, and Harry Reid actually sold off our land, that's right, BLM land, to Chinese for $8 million. I think it was $4 million, some ridiculous. He got $1.1 million in his pocket for that. And it was worth $360 million or something like that for that land that they sold to the Chinese. Who is the enemy here? Who is enemy of who? That's the question you should be asking. And you can find that. Just Google it. Okay, next. South Carolina. A gun shop employee reports that the FBI counterterrorism agent provided a checklist of suspicious activities and encouraged the store to report on any customers who show concern about big government. Oh, really? I think 90% of the country is now concerned about big government being a fascist nation with corporations buying off our congressmen and senators. Activist post, April 15. The U.S. IRS has demanded that Ron Paul reveal his donors list to them. His nonprofit organization, Campaign for Liberty, is defying their orders despite previously being fined for doing so. Washington Examiner, April 15th. Yes, he told them to go, jump off a long pier, basically. They don't have no right constitutionally to do anything that they're doing to him. And he knows this. He's a constitutionalist, don't you know? Oh, man. Video. Nevada. The standoff between cattle rustler Cliven Bundy and the BLM drew hundreds of protesters who were threatened with being shot if they tried to reclaim Bundy's cattle. After a lot of drama, the BLM finally backed down, released the cattle, and left the premises. Infowars, April 14th. But did you know they left all their garbage behind? They did not pick up after themselves. And they left the garbage out there. What are they thinking? They're supposed to be representative of, hike out, pick up, and take out. There's something wrong here, isn't there? During the standoff at Bundy Ranch, a group of legislators from the state and local government, sheriffs, and other representatives formed a coalition of western states, cows. Their purpose is to stand up against the federal government when it violates the Constitution. Repeat that, the Constitution. They're violating this without, restraint, especially when it comes to land rights in rural America. An additional 20 lawmakers have joined cows. April 14th. And depending on their other statuses, they're the ones you need to re-elect, and through the sheriffs and everything. Video. Meet the coalition of western states led by Matt Shaw of Washington State. Next News Network, April 17th. And, they're all jumping in on the bus saying, we have too much federal government from a 50-mile square area called Washington District of Criminals controlling everything. I don't know why they're getting away with this. They're not following the Constitution. You're not supposed to follow them if they're not following the Constitution. They're null and void. If you're following them, then you just don't understand that. Video: a Russian fighter buzzed over U.S. warship 12 times in the international waters of the Black Sea. U.S. officials said it was provocative act, but said nothing about the presence of U.S. warships near Russia being a provocative act. Press TV, April 14th, and that's true. They're allowed, we're allowed. I mean, what would we do if we're down there in the Gulf Coast of south of U.S. America, and there were Russian warships in that area within our boundaries? Wouldn't we fly jets the same and check them out to see what they're up to? Come on. We're not paying attention, are we? Next, video. Investigative reporter Cheryl Atkinson resigned from CBS News after 20 years. She says her best stories were heavily censored and she was under constant pressure to please the abomination administration. Fox News, April 13th. See? Somebody who has a conscience decided to get out. That's what it's all about. Scientist Ken Bessinger is trying to raise money to test radiation levels in ocean currents headed towards the U.S. from Fukushima. Neither the U.S. government nor the governments of coastal states are undertaking this task, so it's up to private groups to do so. Bessinger believes that radiation levels in the water are likely to be safe, but says it will be impossible to know without testing. Exactly. Guardian, April 13th. And it's true. We don't know what's out there. These cores have melted down, sunk into the earth, and they're now on their way to polluting groundwaters all over the territory of Fukushima. And it's leaking out into the ocean of the Pacific. Just heads up. I wouldn't live there if I was you. In the West Coast. Okay, it's dangerous. Until they get the situation under control, it's dangerous. Here's another. Help your body eliminate unsafe levels of radiation. See Folium PX. Just check this out, and you'll find out that there's a way to detox from these heavy metals of plutonium and uranium and other strontium. Okay, video. Slovakiansk, East Ukraine pro-Russian separatists seize more buildings, including a police station. Protests grow as Ukrainians become strongly divided over whether to ally with Russia or the West. BBC, April 12th. And a related story from Kremostovsk. Man, I'm probably... the Russian language is very hard to use, at least in that region. Ukraine. A second police station was stormed by armed pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine. Kyiv is amassing troops to respond to what is called an act of aggression by Russia. Vice President Joe Biden is planning to visit Kyiv. That will help. April 12th. Now, there was actually, I don't know if they're going to cover this in here, but NBC sent amazingly, CBS or NBC, NBC sent a camera crew up there to the Ukraine that were claiming that they're massing tanks and war vehicles along the border. They went up there, everything was life as normal. There was nothing going on. I mean, it's an MSM lies, mainstream media lying to you again to fear you and do whatever else they can do to make you want to go to war with somebody. Connecticut Senate vote to ban the use of genetically engineered grass for lawns, schoolyards, and parks because it would increase the use of pesticides and herbicides that can contaminate water supplies. Beyond pesticides, April 12th. And it's true, these things are leaching into your water supply and you're drinking it. And they're saying that this stuff that in Roundup is poisonous to the human body. It causes mutations. I mean, when frogs grow many legs and several eyes and stuff, and frogs are used in biology classes to determine how the human body works, you should take note. Just a reminder. Star. Something to keep for future reference. Climate professor Richard Toll resigned from the United Nations IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He says it uses faulty science to promote political agendas. Principia Scientific posted April 4th, and it does. It's a big lie. They're not considering the sun. We have had the worst winter this year than any because the solar maximum for this solar period 24 has been the lowest in the last 200 years of recording this. And it's just coming down to that these people are just lying to you to rob money from you. Take it from your pocket and put it in theirs. That's all this is about. Carbon tax, all that stuff, is to take money from your pocket and put it in theirs because they're having shortfalls in their own businesses and things. And they just do the research. I don't have to say no more. Say no more. All right. The Washington State Appeals Court upheld the dismissal of a lawsuit that would have forced the Olympia Food Co-op to end its boycott on Israel products. The BDS boycott, divestiture, and sanctions movement is a strategy to economically pressure Israel to stop its occupation of Palestine, and they should. They are conquering that area of the Palestinians. Mondowis posted April 12th, and they're doing that. Video. Congress passed a law allowing collection on debt owed to the government that is over 10 years old. The IRS is confiscating tax refunds even from people who weren't the recipients of the refunds. CBS, April 12th. Well, yeah, this has everything to do with your father or grandfather owed this money, and now they're coming back to collect it from you. But yet, I heard just yesterday that they're going to stop doing that because it's not constitutional. I'm sorry, people. You just can't go rob money from people for something they're shortfall of revenue because they overspent themselves. Okay, this is an interesting article with the star type symbol, the gear-like thing. Who says man cannot fly? And it shows you. Be amazed. Okay, here's the analysis for this week. Reports, commentaries that look beyond news to identify historical facts and trends that help to place the news in perspective. Okay, the first one is Rand Paul video. Rand Paul calls for cooler heads to prevail after Harry Reid said that Bundy and his supporters are domestic terrorists. Mediated April 18th. Harry Reid robbed $1.1 million from selling BLM land. Who is the criminal here? The Bundys or him? I kind of lean to the first. To Harry Reid, actually the second, Harry Reid. The Bundys are innocent of everything. They have the rights since 97, I think I heard, or 87. They have the right to that land, and he's out there trying to steal it from him because there's gold and other stuff there, and he's out to make a profit. Harry Reid needs to be voted out. I don't know how he gets back in there except cheating on the electronic voting machines. I heard about that from the last election, but you're not supposed to know that. It's a secret, don't you know? How these criminals stay in charge, because they get paid off by these corporations. That's why it's fascism. Fascism when corporations pay these guys a large sum of money to do as they're told. And if you don't realize that's what's happening, you're not seeing the big picture. Anyways, election donations. Video, Nevada. George Napolitano says that the BLM suffered a self-induced public relations nightmare in making a show of force instead of filing a property lien against the rancher Cliven Bundy to collect the taxes they say he owes. He says Bundy's tax case should have been tried in a state court instead of federal court because it is improper for the federal government to decide what land it owns. And lastly, the free speech zones for the protesters that were set up 3 miles away from the ranch was a mockery of the First Amendment. Exactly, Judge, exactly. Fox News, April 14th. Even Fox News is trying to save face in all this. Okay, Ron Paul in the video explains how Texas avoided ceding its land to the federal government when it joined the Union. He predicts that there will be more flare-ups like the Bundy Ranch standoff because it is unreasonable for the federal government to claim its own 30% of American land. He recommends selling the land to the feds. Feds do own a private parties. Selling the land to the feds to do. I don't know what happened to the the man who was supposed to sit here and read this and make sure everything's right. Proofread. Private parties. You're not allowed to sell land to private parties. The government doesn't own the BLM. Period. It's a guardian over the BLM. And that's all the BLM is a guardian to make sure the public lands are safe and whatever. They're not allowed to sell it to foreign entities like China. Come on. Okay. Here we go again. Arthur F. Williams Indathal reports that the White House and State Department are lying to the EU when they say that the U.S. can supply Europe with enough gas to replace exports from Russia. We can't even support ourselves. But they're fracking the hell out of the ground and putting poisons down in there to poison the water. Interesting. NEO posted April 12th. Okay, here's a great photo to see. Global warming in Chicago. Yeah, they got over a foot of snow. Look at that. Oh, Al Gore, you're still hiding, aren't you? Oh, my golly. And they had Minnesota a foot of snow. And they're trying to say, it's not rare to have snow this time of year in April. Oh, no. But a foot of snow that broke all records across that area, from Chicago to Minnesota? Really? Really? These guys are hoodwinkers. They're trying to hoodwink you into believing that you must pay carbon tax. I'm telling you, this is what they're up to. Okay, here's the humor for this week. The daily moments of Zen. Here's Yell from the City. Smile on the dog. Out in the countryside. Unfiltered form. The real solution to Bundy Ranch. Gotta read that. Own gold, sleep well. Gotta see that. And the gotta see the classifieds too. I'll have a link to all this underneath the video on YouTube, and other if I decide to put it in other places. But until next time, I guess this is be good or be good at it, and have a wonderful Easter weekend. I hope everybody does. It's going to be beautiful weather in the Ohio Valley, it seems, and I hope you all take care. Like I said, be good at it, and good day.